It's time to talk thoroughbred horse racing on Prime Sports Network. And since it's Monday, that means Chad Summers joins me, professional thoroughbred horse trainer. And Chad, good to have you back. Double duty this week because we're going to see you again later in the week when we preview the Preakness with John Hardoon.
Hopefully, we do a little bit better than the Derby. Although we did get it right that there'd be a scratch. Nobody gave us any credit for that one.
Right. And if it wasn't for that,
then I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
going to finish last.
Yeah. No Kentucky Derby winner in the Preakness. So
this time I can say with even more confidence than in the Derby that Rich Strike will not win the Preakness.
Yeah, and this is why it wasn't a good thing. So this is proof because nobody cares now. All the excitement and the fun and everything, everybody is going to forget it. And now we have no Triple Crown potential winner, and we just have a big race with Epicenter.
No, we got a big race, and it's an exciting race because you have Epicenter, who many thought was the best horse in the Derby. He runs back. You have the filly Secret Oath attempting to become the fifth filly to win the Preakness, the first since Rachel Alexandra. And you have a horse in early voting for Chad Brown that everybody says is the next Cloud Computing, which I find very humorous, by the way, because I looked up Cloud Computing this morning. Cloud Computing in his lifetime was 2 for 8. He had 2 wins lifetime. He never hit the board after he won the Preakness. So I don't know if I'd be running around town to everybody that I got the next Cloud Computing in my barn. I do think early voting's a better horse than Cloud Computing, though.
Okay, well, yeah, and it looks like there are going to be 8 or 9 horses in the Preakness. We will get the official tally. We're recording this show about 2:30ish on Monday, so we got an hour and a half before the draw comes out. So the next time we're on the air won't be until we're ready to preview the Preakness on either Thursday night or Friday morning. And the only thing is that with Epicenter in the race, which is good, but you just would hope that there would have been like another, like Zandon, but because Epicenter is going to go off just, not only is he going to go off as a heavy morning line favorite, but he's going to, I don't even think you're going to get even odds on him.
I think you will. I think the filly will take a lot of money. I think Secret Oath will take a lot of money. Everybody likes the story and Dwayne Lucas, which, by the way, there's a new nickname for Dwayne Lucas. He used to be for years Dwayne off the plane because he was, always shipping them around the country and winning all the big races. Now his nickname is Dwayne with the cane, as he had the
he must
cane
love that
going into the winner's circle. I don't know how much he loved it, but I thought that was a humorous nickname.
As long as he's finding his way to the winner's circle, I guess he really doesn't care.
And early voting will take a lot of money as well. I think Simplification was 4th. He'll take some money. I think you'll have 2-1 morning line on Epicenter. Maybe he'll be 9-5, 8-5. I don't think he'll be less than even money in the race. And I do think it's an interesting race because Epicenter is going to have to do what many in the field are not doing, and that's come back in 2 weeks.
So let's see. The only Simplification and Epicenter. Those are the only 2?
Secret Oath.
Oh, Happy Jack, right?
Happy Jack and
that's it.
Creative, the creative horse for Academy Peak.
Oh, Creative Minister on the undercard. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, they're spending $150,000 to supplement into the race because the horse was not nominated for any point of this. You could have paid $600 to nominate the horse for the Triple Crown. They never did. So now they are paying $150,000 in addition to the entry fee, which I think is $50,000. They're paying $150,000 late supplement fee. So yes, while the owners do have money, it does speak to the confidence that they have in their horse to take that kind of a gamble to run in this race.
All right. Well, hey, look, I don't handicap races until I see the sheets, so I'll take a look at them, and hopefully when we talk and really handicap the race in a few days, I hope you're right. I hope that there's a reason for me to not go all in on a 2-1 shot. So we'll see. Okay, so that's coming up later in the week. We promised last week that we were going to continue our polls, our rankings. This one is going to be one of the few ones that I'm going to have a little bit of a say in, and I've added a couple of horses in there, so I think it might be interesting to get your take on it. But this is going to be your ranking of the top 10 most popular thoroughbreds of all time. Now, anytime you put these types of polls together in any sport for anything, I think it all depends on how the person putting the poll together, what their objective is. I think there's two ways to go about this, and I've kind of mixed both of them, which is you could say, well, most popular, meaning that for the masses, if you had to say, hey, blindly pick the top 10, blindly pick 10 really good thoroughbreds in North America
that you've heard of before.
Yeah, that you've heard of. The other way is just, hey, how popular were the horses? Like, how stoked were fans to see the horses? So I think that's kind of how I put it in, a kind of mixture of both. More of just, did they really hear about the horse, and how did you put it together?
So I basically took a hodgepodge of horses that captured the hearts of America, right? So horses that made the covers of magazines and things like that. And then I sprinkled in horses that had just these followings that are somewhat unexplainable. And there's a couple on the list. One I think might be a little bit too regional. And the other one is on the list, and we can start with him because he's number 10 on the list. And that's Zippy Chippy. And he just passed away recently, unfortunately. He was at Cabin Creek, the old Friends division up in New York. And the reason why Zippy Chippy's on the list is he never won a race. And for some reason, that captured America's hearts that I don't understand why. He ran in these fairs in Rockingham and Barrington Hill in Massachusetts and never won a race, and became so popular for never winning a race. He got a forever home, and people would go to the farm, and the farm up there, it's the Old Friends division. So Old Friends, they do an amazing job with some of our retired horses that are no longer stallions, and horses that were Breeders' Cup horses, Triple Crown horses. There's a miniature horse there named Little Silver Charm. They have a New York division where horses like Commentator are, so many other good horses. Will's Way's up there. But a lot of people came to see Zippy Chippy. And the funny story with Zippy Chippy was, and there's a book written about him as well that you can purchase up there, but he was like the most lovable horse on that farm. Some of them would be a little bit cantankerous, and everybody loves Zippy Chippy. His trainer came to see him, and Zippy Chippy pinned his ears back and tried to savage him because, whatever reason, he did not like his trainer, who never won a race with him. So I don't know if maybe I know he wasn't on your list. Maybe it's a little bit of a reach to put him on my list.
When was this?
About probably 15 years ago.
Wait a second. So this wasn't this, and I know I know they've done these really silly promotional things with trotters that have never won or something like that, and they have a man going out there running against a trotter. I know that would never happen with thoroughbred.
Yeah, I remember that.
But had they ever put anything crazy like that together in any not that, but anything similar? No, okay.
No. He just never won. And we had a similar thing, not similar, but yesterday in the races at Belmont, there was a horse who was an 0 for 36 maiden, who was the favorite, who had 11 second place finishes before, and he got the job done yesterday. And everybody was very excited for him. So Zippy Chippy is one of one. He is the lovable loser.
Oh, of what? How many did he lose?
Oh, many. You got to look it up. Look it up, bro. He had some seconds, he had some thirds, and he had some close finishes, but he was never ever able to get the job done.
Zippy Chippy.
And he was in the hearts of many Americans, but I think it was more of those that followed racing. But like I said, there was a 60-minute piece about him. There was a children's book written about him.
No movie yet, though, huh?
No movie. There's nowhere to go with the movie, unfortunately. That would kind of be like Rudy, right? Rudy growing up was my favorite movie of all time. I never knew he didn't actually sack the quarterback, and when I did, it just ruined the movie for me.
Which one?
Rudy.
What ruined it?
He doesn't actually sack the quarterback in the movie. He on the special teams play, they tell him to stay out there. He sacks the quarterback. The crowd goes wild. He gets carried off the field. In real life, he did not sack the quarterback, and that changed the whole dynamic for me. Disney dramatization.
What did he do in real life, though, in his play?
He was on the special teams play. That was it. They did carry him off the field, but he didn't sack the quarterback.
Okay. All right. It says here, by the way, Zippy Chippy just passed away last month.
Yes.
And it says here, I'm reading through Blood Horse. I don't know. This is not written very well.
Like, you have to listen to make an article about your passing away, having never won a race. To me, qualifies him to be in this list.
100 starts.
Yes.
He did finish second 8 times and third 11 times, compiling a whopping $30,000 in earnings.
Yes. 0 for 100. Hard to do.
Okay, Zippy Chippy. By the way, my 10 horse is Sunday Silence. And this is a more modern horse when I grew up. So I was in about 21 at the time. And he was very popular back then because he won two Triple Crown races, almost won the third, and also won the Breeders' Cup Classic. And I remember Sunday Silence. I put him up there with 2 or 3 other horses that were kind of popular in my time, but I think he was the most popular that I personally remembered.
So Sunday Silence will be the most popular horse in Japan, maybe forever, because he stood stallion over there and completely changed their breed. In fact, many of the horses that you've seen, the success that these Japanese horses have had over the last few years, running in America, running in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, are all from the influence of Sunday Silence, either from a son of Sunday Silence or a daughter of Sunday Silence. That's how much he shaped the breed in Japan. And the reason he didn't make my list was he wasn't popular enough to stand stud in America. And it was kind of, he's known as the one that got away now in hindsight, but he wasn't popular enough to stay here. And that was the only reason he didn't make my list.
Well, I don't feel so stupid then for picking him. Okay. Number 9 is 4-Star Dave. It sounds like a restaurant. So 4-Star Dave, tell us about your number 9 horse.
So this is more of a local regional thing. I wanted to put my horse in there, Mind Your Biscuits, but I couldn't do it. 4-Star Dave, to me, if you have something named after you, you've made it. And it's Saratoga, which, again, maybe I'm biased, is the most prestigious, meet in America racing. The bar over there is called the 4-Star Dave Bar. He ran and won a race there, I think, for 5 or 6 years in a row. It was a Leo O'Brien horse, just one of them cool, hard-knocking horses, ran forever. And again, based on what we're doing here, this isn't the best horse of all time, but this is a popularity contest. Yes. And if a bar is named the 4-Star Dave Bar, a place where people like to get plenty of libations, it's good enough for me to make my list. So he's number 9 on my list. Again, he doesn't have the best record of some of these other horses that we talked about in the best horses, but I like the story behind it. So I put him on the list.
Okay. My number 9 is also new. He's not on your list. It's the 1948 winner of the Triple Crown, Citation. Tell us about Citation. How good was Citation?
Well, they say, I mean, it was a little bit before my time, but of the horses who won the Triple Crown, he was, before Secretariat, kind of widely regarded as the best one. He was the most impressive. He did things that other horses kind of that age hadn't done before, and did it so easy. There were stories of him back in the day. The horses back then used to travel by train and by freight train. And people would just line up. It's almost like the Buffalo Bill Mafia, how they wait for the planes to come back from the players. That's how it was. Wherever Citation went, they would line up to greet him and see him get off the train. So I have no problem at all with that one being on the list.
Number 8 for your list is Smarty Jones. I remember Smarty Jones being a very popular horse not too long ago.
So this was a horse. Pennsylvania is not known for their horse racing, right? Pennsylvania loves their sports. They love the Phillies. They love the Flyers. They love Allen Iverson. I'm not going to go with the 76 right now. They're not happy with them. They love Allen Iverson. Like Philadelphia, I think you can, as a sports guy, Greg, you can say Philadelphia is sports city. Like, they love their sports. Would you agree, Greg?
They're emphatic about their yes.
So when you had this horse, Smarty Jones, that was based at Parks in Philadelphia for this guy, the Chapmans, him and his wife. He was in a wheelchair, and he was just a cool horse. Almost lost an eye in a schooling accident when he was a 2-year-old coming out of the gate. Was just did everything right, always won, and I remember. He won the Derby and won the Preakness. I was visiting my friend at the University of Pennsylvania, and they were working the horse out going to the Belmont Stakes, and they actually opened up Parks for people to come out and watch him breeze. This was like his penultimate breeze before going for the Triple Crown. And again, there hadn't been a Triple Crown winner since 1978, so they thought he was the chosen one. He was the one that was gonna break through and was gonna win the Triple Crown. And there was about 15,000 people there to watch his breeze, which at Parks was crazy. They drove up. They all came up in herds from Philadelphia. They had their Smarty Jones buttons. They had their pins. Everybody, he was the chosen one. And I remember being at the Belmont Stakes, and he was going to win. And the only question was, did Stuart Elliott have enough experience riding Belmont Park? It's a tricky track. And he didn't come in early. They said, oh, you should come in early and know the track. He said, I got this. I got this. And he moved too early. And the roar of the crowd, when he came around the turn like he's going to win the race, the crowd went crazy. And when little midget Birdstone passed him and went on to win the race, you could have heard a pin drop in Elmont, New York. There was, I think, 150,000 people there that day, and the place was silence. And when they won, Birdstone was owned by Mary Lou Whitney, trained by Nick Zito. Mary Lou Whitney on TV actually apologized to the fans for winning the race because she wanted to see a Triple Crown. She was happy that Birdstone won, but she herself was rooting for Birdstone. So, I mean, rooting for Smarty Jones. So I think for that reason, he was definitely one. He made the cover of Sports Illustrated. I remember some great articles from Tim Layden along the way. He's a tremendous writer. I think Smarty Jones, while he didn't have the most prolific after career as a stallion, he captured the hearts of America and the Broad Street bullies, and for that reason, he made my list.
All right, making my list at 8 was also a horse that lost the Triple Crown at the Belmont Stakes. That occurred about, I think, 16 years earlier in Alashiba. And considering the relation with Alidar, I figured, this one of those two has to get in, and Alashiba definitely needed to get in because he won both of those races and almost won the Triple Crown. And I just remember, again, it was a time right around the same point, just a couple of years earlier, from the other horse I mentioned, that Sunday Silence, that I just remember Alashiba being a big name and a very popular horse, and they did documentaries on Alashiba that I recall. So I had to put him in the list.
Yeah. Next.
7th is you have Ruffian as your 7th choice. Ruffian.
Now, she didn't get a movie about her, but she did get a made-for-TV special on ABC. So it's close. It's close, right? And again, when you're talking about popularity, whenever horse racing can go into the mainstream, I think that means something. And so for her to get first of all, to have a tragic ending, and to pass away in a match race at Belmont and everything else, but to have a movie done about you, pretty remarkable. And she was a filly that just showed up and did her job and loved what she did. And I mean, she was an institution. And when this was kind of around the time, I believe, it's a little bit before my time, you would probably know better than me, but when she was running, it was almost like that same time as that John McEnroe, Billie Jean King stuff going on, in that guys versus girls and girl power, and the girls can do everything as well as the guys. And I feel like she was representing so much more than just herself when she ran, and they set up the match race against the Colt and everything else. And, just obviously a tragic ending to what was a brilliant career, and, cut short for what it could have been. But I know she had so many fans and represented so much more than just herself in what she was doing.
My 7th pick was Affirmed, and I just think that because of the battle with Alidar, this was just such a big deal when I was growing up, just hearing about that rivalry. It was and Affirmed was such a good horse that to me it was the popularity of that duel in the Triple Crown. I had to put Affirmed in there. Just a well-known horse of my time.
It you talk about things that you're surprised there weren't more things done with the rivalry that they had. I'm surprised that there wasn't more done with them, whether it be a movie or documentary or a special or something like that. I mean, it was a great rivalry, and I think, like you said, the only thing that stopped me from putting them on the list is the fact that we got spoiled by Secretariat. And so the Triple Crown coming back again just a few years later, it's kind of the same thing like with Justify. What Justify doesn't make these lists is we were spoiled by American Pharaoh. So that's the only thing from a popularity contest where it's like, we've been there, we've done that. And it's funny, somebody said on Twitter, I believe yesterday, they said, "Oh, we need to space these races out more, and we need to have more Triple Crowns." It's better that there's less. It's harder to do. It's not easy to do. Like, don't mess with that. Leave it alone. Yes, it's very hard. It is very, very hard to win the Triple Crown. It takes a very special horse to do it. They don't come around every year, and that's what makes the Triple Crown the Triple Crown. I don't want to change the distance. I don't want to change the surface, the time in between. It's been this way for so many years. Leave it alone.
That has nothing to do with, to me, and we talked about it a little bit last week. It's about, if you just market the sport properly, you wouldn't have that problem. See, because most people like that are thinking about, well, most people only care about the Derby, so it only comes around once a year. It's like, well, there's other really good, there's breeders, there's other Travers, there's so many other really good races during the season, but you just, they don't want to cover it that anywhere close to the Derby. That's not the sport's fault. Well, maybe it is, but that's the way the networks want to play it. So,
I agree.
All right, my sixth horse is actually your third. So we have a couple of the same horses in our top 10. I have Cigar as my sixth, and you have Cigar as your third.
So why do you keep him at 6?
Well, the other 5, which we're going to get into, I just felt were that much more popular. That's just the way it was. But yeah, Cigar to me was, I look at Cigar as this horse that was sort of like, what's the name of the boxer that's never lost? Whitaker?
Rocky Marciano. Okay, Secretariat.
That's what I.
Oh, Floyd. You mean
Floyd Mayweather. So that's the same thing I do with Cigar. Cigar was just like this horse that he doesn't lose. Every time he races, he wins in these big races. And again, because of when I followed the sport, I haven't really heard of a horse since Cigar that has accomplished something like that. And is that because maybe they put him out to stud quickly? I don't know.
There was one filly who I think actually passed the record. I think it was 16 wins in a row, I think was the record. You can look it up. But you're right. He never lost. And he was, listen, when you talk, the reason why he's number 3 on my list, you talk about from a popularity standpoint. Kerry Strug. Remember Kerry Strug?
Yes.
The Olympian,
gymnast.
The gymnast, she landed on the foot and everything else. She came out to Belmont after she won the gold medal to come see Cigar. Cigar was at Madison Square Garden when he retired. They actually shipped him to Madison Square Garden, and he did a parade around. I don't know if it was a horse show or a Nick game or whatever it was. Like, he was transcendent, and everybody loves a winner. As much as everybody loves a loser in Zippy Chippy who lost 100 in a row, they love winning more. Right? Why does everybody love the Cowboys and the Lakers and the Yankees? Because they win and they win and they win. So you have to have Cigar on the list because he did what nobody else did. He won and he won and he won and he won. And he took his show on the road. And look, I'll never forget. I was at my grandma's house. Okay? When he lost the Pacific Classic in California and ended the streak, he lost to a horse named Dare and Go. And it was a great call from Trevor Denman. And I'll never forget the call. And I cried. And I was, I don't know, say I was 10, 12 years old. And I didn't bet on the horse. I had nothing in the game. But I cried that this champion who never lost, especially lost to a horse like Dare and Go, who wasn't that good. It's like losing to Rich Strike. But it's one of those things where when you win at that level, it's fantastic. Yeah. It's fantastic.
So hard to do. Yes.
And look, we get behind these streaks all the time, whether it's Cal Ripken playing or Joe DiMaggio hitting or, touchdown passes for Tom Brady, whatever the case is. We love records as Americans. We love records. And so for him to win and win and win and win, it became must-see TV every time he was going to run. It entered into the mainstream. Once he won whatever it was, say it was 10, 11 races in a row, right? And obviously he's winning these big grade ones and everything else. Once it hit that mainstream, it was one of those things where everybody had to watch. Now, the ironic thing about all of this, and that people don't know about or remember about, is he was in the Don Handicap when the streak was just kind of going. It was the 5th or 6th win he had in a row. And he's in the Don Handicap, and I don't even think he was the favorite. He was running against a horse named Holy Bull that Mike Smith was riding. And Holy Bull broke down in the race. If Holy Bull doesn't get hurt, this streak may never really exist because Holy Bull might have beat him that day or might have beat him again in the future because he was rather regarded as the best older horse in the division. So people forget about that. But just like in a perfect game or a no-hitter in baseball, you need to have good defense behind you. And Cigar, listen, he stayed sound. Trainer Bill Mott's in the Hall of Fame. He did a wonderful job with this horse and lived out in the Kentucky Horse Park and everything else. So people can come see him because he was infertile. But definitely was a very, very popular horse.
Okay. Now, I don't know. Did I skip over?
That was
your spot. Okay. Your spot and my spot is next.
Let's go to 5.
Anyway.
Right.
So
let's go 5.
Your 6 is my 5th, which is American Pharaoh. And like you said, how for Justify and also for California Chrome, when you were saying that, like a horse like American Pharaoh, kind of, what did you say? It, we got not, I guess we were taken away by a horse that had been so good and that broke the record that the next ones, even though they were great horses, it kind of lost a little bit of the shine in a way, and that's kind of the reason why I didn't put California Chrome in there. Even I know you do, you have California Chrome in there, not because he wasn't a very popular horse, but because of that reasoning. But American Pharaoh has to be on the list.
Look, and I think I talked about this when we talked about the top 10 horses of all time. When American Pharaoh didn't run in the Breeders' Cup as a 2-year-old, and Keith DeStorma won the race with a horse named Texas Red. He said in his post-race interview, "I'm just happy that American Pharaoh wasn't here." So when you're giving kudos to horses like that when they're not running, is impressive. And then you see what he did as a 3-year-old, just winning the Triple Crown, the first horse to do it since 1978, the way he did it, and then to go on. And again, we talk about how many people saw Smarty Jones run. The amount of cameras that were there when he won the Haskell all week long for Jersey that doesn't really cover horse racing as much was amazing. The day before the Travers, they opened it up to the fans. There was a special Travers window, and training was 7:30 to 7:45. And there were 30,000 people that showed up to watch this horse gallop. Inevitably, it actually ended up costing him the race because he thought he was breezing, and the rest lays in history. But there were 30,000 people that came out to watch him go around the track in the morning time. That screams popularity.
Absolutely.
And then to put the cherry on top of the cake, to come in the Breeders' Cup, the first Breeders' Cup at Keeneland, and to just demolish that field. Easy winner, never in doubt, gate to wire, was the true cherry on top. It was the first ever Grand Slam winner. We just made up a new term. If you're a horse that's good enough and popular enough to make up a new term that we wanted to equate it to tennis or whatever, we called him our first ever Grand Slam winner. I always thought of Denny's. I didn't think of the tennis Grand Slam or golf. I thought of the Grand Slam breakfast at Denny's.
About that.
but American Pharaoh definitely has to make the list.
Okay, and then you had California Chrome right after that at 5, which is where I had American Pharaoh. So if California Chrome and American Pharaoh 1-on-1, who's the better horse?
American Pharaoh. It's not close. The reason why California Chrome is on this list is because he was the lunch bucket horse. He was a Calbred that was ill-bred, that was owned by two guys that called themselves DAP Stable, Dumbass Partners. That was the name of their stable. On the blinkers, you see DAP. It was Dumbass Partners. Okay, and they certainly showed themselves that way after the Belmont Stakes. The horse was running in Calbred races as a 2-year-old. He wasn't even that good. He was okay. The horse was ridden by the exercise rider, Willie Delgado's brother. Albert was riding him. He was just okay. And he continued to just kind of bring his lunchbox and go to work and show up. He was like, he was everything that the Pittsburgh Steelers stand for in football, right? Just a lunchbox guy. And he just kept coming. And he got these fans that were like obsessed with him. They called themselves Chromies. They gave themselves a nickname. And when I was at the Breeders' Cup and he was running in the Breeders' Cup, the amount of these fans that were obsessed with this horse, and they applied for, this is like social media. California Chrome kind of represented to me the start of really social media in its core. The Facebook and Twitter was kind of getting going, and people just loved this horse. They just fell in love with this horse. And so to me, it was one of those things that this isn't best horses of all time. This is most popular, and he certainly fit the bill. When there was at the Breeders' Cup, the amount of people who had fake blogs and fake accounts that just wanted a media pass so that they can photograph California Chrome was absurd. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. He took a show on the road. He won in Dubai, came back here, and people were so devastated when he got sold as a stallion to Japan. I mean, cried, sent letters, cursed out the owners, never wanted to see the horse leave. He's thriving in Japan. I hear really good reports about him over there. But, I mean, he had a fan base that he shouldn't have even had. It would be like if there was, like the Beatles and like the tambourine player on the Beatles was as popular as John Lennon and Ringo Starr. Like, from a talent perspective, he wasn't that good. He won the Derby, won the Preakness. I get it. But he wasn't really like this unbelievable horse, but he had this unbelievable following. In fact, when we came back after the Belmont Stakes, I was stabled next to him, and they went to put the horse in the stall, and somebody had stolen the webbing because it said Belmont Stakes, California Chrome. Somebody had snuck in, past the security cameras, the security guards, and stolen the webbing that said California Chrome on it. That's how popular he was.
All right, now my fourth choice.
And by the way, just so you know, the only horse to this day I know that made an apparel deal with a shoe company. He was sponsored by Skechers. He didn't wear Skechers shoes. I promise you he had horseshoes on the whole time. But they made a media deal with Skechers before the Belmont Stakes. I kid you not.
Did that go off okay?
It went off better than the Monster Inc. deal that Victor Espinosa made on American Pharaoh.
Okay. My fourth choice was in my list was just easy for me because I said it when we went over the first list. Spectacular Bid was my Secretariat because I was just about 10 years old, and then like I said at that time, it was my introduction really into the greatness of Triple Crown racing and just overall thoroughbred racing. So that's why for me personally, I had to put Spectacular Bid in. That's more of a personal thing.
No, listen, he's one of the best horses of all time, and I have no problem with him on the list. It was before my time, so I wasn't sure how popular he was. I would be remiss if we don't go through this whole program and not mentioning Forgo, because that was the horse that got Jonathan Hardoon involved, and I got yelled at for not having him in the top 10 list of all horses of all time. I wanted to put him number one as most popular, as an ode to Jonathan Hardoon. But at least we'll give him a mention here. Forgo, very popular horse, very, very talented horse as well.
All right. Now, your 4 horse is my second, and that is Seabiscuit. And for me, it's just the obvious if I Seabiscuit is 2 in my book, is just because of the movie. But so we both have them in the top 4. Take the movie out of the equation. And without the movie, how popular is Seabiscuit to people today?
It was the time. It was the time when he was running. I mean, it was kind of during the Depression, and they needed something to turn to. And at that time, it's so weird when we look at it now, and that's why it's frustrating for me as a passionate horse racing person. Because if I sit there and I say horse racing was the most popular sport when when Seabiscuit was running, nowadays people look at me like I should be institutionalized. But that was the case when Seabiscuit was running. Horse racing was the number one sport in America, and so when you had a horse like him that represented hope and represented a chance, this was a horse that they famously almost put down. He had problems and he overcame them and he won and he won and he traveled. Seabiscuit was what we needed in a time where America itself was going through a little bit of a depression. Seabiscuit kind of brought a nation together, and so for that, and you add in the fact the book and the movie and everything else, everybody really knows Seabiscuit. There are a lot of mistakes. One day, we can break down the 17 mistakes from the Seabiscuit movie, including when he's getting ready for the match race and he's walking behind the Seabiscuit statue because they filmed it at Hollywood Park. But that's over there.
You sure that was a mistake?
Yes.
Okay. That's a good idea. I like that idea. Now, again, your third was Cigar. Now, my third was Seattle Slough. Not on your list, but Seattle Slough, for me growing up in my time period, it wasn't just how good the horse was, it was that he had just such a cool name. It was like Seattle Slough, great horse. It made you get interested in thoroughbred racing. And so again, because of the time that when I grew up, he was so popular and his name was just so again, that's why I say I think if people wrote down a list of horses that they would identify name wise, I think he would be on the top 10 list.
Oh, look, he's a blue collar horse. He didn't cost a lot of money at the sale. And the trainer, Billy Turner, who just recently passed away, he has to go down as the only trainer to have a Triple Crown winner move from him and sent to California. They used to switch between California and New York for some reason with Seattle Slough, which kind of, I thought, cheapened the horse a little bit. But yeah, look, I've said it before. My dad picked him on the air as a radio DJ in college at Fredonia, undefeated going in, won the Triple Crown. Certainly, a wonderful career. But later on, as he got older, wasn't the greatest of horses at that point, but still remained popular as a Triple Crown winner for sure.
All right, and then again, well, your number two, my number two is Seabiscuit. Your number two, Zenyatta, who I do remember. So tell me what makes Zenyatta your number two, because not any horse that's number two must be pretty damn popular because we all know who number one is.
So Zenyatta, I mean, physically, was a horse who gave me goosebumps when I saw her live for the first time in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, the first time she ran the Breeders' Cup, and she made this move, and she just, I mean, it's literally like she was flying or floating, like it never looked like her feet hit the ground, and she was just like this remarkable horse, and she was, I mean, she looked like the Pegasus statue at Gulfstream Park, like, I mean, she was like big, beautiful filly, had everything you would want in a horse, and she made that move that people are drawn to, that closing kick, closing move. You never thought she was out of it. She never was. She won every time she ran, just like Cigar. And she just was just fascinating to watch. She used to dance in the paddock in the post parade before the races. In fact, there's literally YouTube videos dedicated with music behind it of the Zenyatta dance, and you can watch for 8.5 minutes Zenyatta dancing in the different races before the race. Just something that was cool and unique. Mike Smith was the perfect jockey for her, even though David Flores rode her first couple of starts, because Mike Smith was just so cool. She was so cool. The connections were just, I mean, John Sheriffs was the guy, like the perfect coach, where he's, seems like he's he's covering his eyes before the race, and then they win. And I mean, he slept with that horse every day and loved her and managed her career just perfectly. She's named after what's a mainstream kind of media, right? With the owner Jerry Moss being in that media world, the music world. And when she got beat in the Breeders' Cup Classic, it was a primetime event. It was the 1 year that the Breeders' Cup tried to have it at primetime. It was nighttime under the lights at Churchill Downs, and the ratings were through the roof, and people were very upset when she got beat in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And she's been a disappointment as a broodmare. I know her 2-year-old's on the track now. I don't think she's actually ever had a winner. But Zenyatta was one of those things where if you did it, I think they had the thing on, was it Sports Center or whatever, that when they were ranking all like the top 100 and all that kind of stuff, Zenyatta and Secretariat and maybe American Pharaoh, the only ones I know that have made those kind of lists.
Okay.
That enter in when they have top athletes of all time, and they have Muhammad Ali and Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan, LeBron, whatever. Those are the 3 horses that tend to make the list the most. There's been a ton of 60-minute stories on her. There's been articles. She was nominated for Time Person or whatever, Animal of the Year. She really was just kind of that special and that mainstream. And she took on the boys a few times. She beat the boys. She was Queen Z, as her nickname kind of was synonymous with.
Yeah, I think the main reason she was not on my list is because you're being the expert. It's different. I don't remember a lot of the races she was in.
Well, she ran to her. Unfortunately, she didn't leave California much. She ran in Oakland on the Apple Blossom a couple of times, where she was victorious. She ran in the Breeders' Cup, where she infamously lost to Blame. But other than that, her career was in California, and a lot of times they were small fields. They were, 5-6 horse fields, because nobody wanted to run against her because they knew they were going to lose, and it does take away a little bit. There's not that, she didn't have that rival. We mentioned before, that rivalry between her and Rachel that really could have rocked the world, that never took place. But she won, and she did it so impressively that nobody cared that she never ran against anybody or she never left California. She's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and she is very, very special horse.
And then the obvious, just like the obvious from a couple of weeks ago, being Secretariat. So that's why I said when we went over the top, the best thoroughbred, North American thoroughbreds, I was like, has to be in a top 5, definitely top 10 of all time athletes, because it's just.
The thing with Secretariat, if you ever needed to question how popular he is or whatever, not only the movie and the Triple Crown and everything else, they have an award every year called the Vox Populi Award, which I was crushed that Mind Your Biscuits didn't win, but fine. They have the Vox Populi Award, which is voted on by the fans as the most popular horse every year. Do you know where you have to vote on that award?
Where? You have to go to vote.
Oh. Yes. Secretariat.com. So
on the website. Okay.
Obviously, horse racing has embraced him as their most popular horse of all time, because to vote for the most popular horse, you have to go to Secretariat.com and vote for the most popular horse of the year.
Yeah.
If that doesn't scream that he's the most popular horse, I don't know what else does.
Yeah. Who's the greatest quarterback of all time? Go to TomBrady.com. Oh, my goodness. All right, so that'll wrap.
That site's blocked in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. We'll talk again on, I don't know, we talk again on Thursday night or Friday morning?
Either way.
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. All right. So appreciate
your Maryland now to get some crab cakes, and
You're in Maryland?
I'm leaving for Maryland as soon as we stop recording the show.
Is that why you're in the car?
That's why I'm in the car. Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm glad you didn't start driving.
Yeah. So looking forward to it. We'll get some crab cakes. Have the latest.
John's not going to be there, is he?
Down there. No.
John, I know John's not gonna. The Kentucky Derby, that's about it. Yeah. On site, unless it's Saratoga or Santa Anita.
Even then, he might be watching every other race from his. When he comes out, we haven't had the best results. So he might be
yeah,
staying in the attic to watch these races.
Well, we'll see how it works out. Thursday night, I'm going to give that more of a better chance. But again, no doubt our show will be available no later than Friday morning. So you'll have more than enough time to check out our preview of the Preakness and the Black-Eyed Susan.
And listen, the one thing I'll say, right? We got some great fans of this show. The comments blow up every week, right? Yes, I did pick Rich Strike to finish last. I get it. We can clip it out anytime you want. Here's the thing. You guys don't be Monday morning quarterbacks. Give us your picks on the bottom after you listen to the show. Don't give us our picks. Oh, you thought Rich Strike sucked. Nobody picked Rich Strike to win. Nobody. Stop. So I'm fine. Listen, I love the comment section. I love reading the comments, and we get back to people and everything else. But give your picks. Be in the trenches with us. Give your picks with us. Go down in flames with us when you listen to the preview shows and all our other shows.
You see, maybe I should have. Remember we were talking about me asking you to give us a reason why every horse would win the Derby. But the show was so long that I just couldn't do that. Otherwise, maybe that would have been the only way that we would have actually. I don't know how you would have said anything.
The horse won. If you ask me today, give me a reason how Rich Strike wins the Derby. I would say there's 19 scratches. I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm happy.
Well, actually, that's how a horse wins. But that's how big long shots win. There has to be a blazing pace, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway. All right. Well, we're not going to have a long shot. Well, we don't think we're going to have a long shot win the Preakness, but you never know. So and since we're only going to be talking about 8 or 9 horses, we'll have more than enough time to talk about each and every one of them and give them all a fair chance. But let's hope they have a fair chance. I hope there's no reason to talk about a horse and go next.
Jonathan,
that's not good.
I promise you, Jonathan will do that on 6 of the 9 horses.
I know. Thanks, Chad.
You got it, Greg. See you later.